6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. Ladies and gentlemen,
That's weird.
Hi.
You are.
Weird. All right, hang on.
ladies and gentlemen, may I have your attention?
All right, guys. Hey, this is Terry with NSPS TV Paranormal Podcast. And tonight we are in Huntington Beach, California with Surf Paranormal.
Hi.
So let her hop in.
Hi, how are you?
All right, how you doing today, madam?
Good. I do a lot of shows on StreamYard, so I know if it starts to get funky, you got to leave and come back. So that's what I did.
Yeah, man, it really got me last week. Oh my God. And you know what? And I upgraded everything so I would not have any more problems.
Nice.
I upgraded to the professional level on StreamYard. I also upgraded my internet to podcast and streaming, which it gives me a little bit more juice, so I'm able to not go through all the problems that I was going through, but apparently the aliens don't like me. They I don't know what opinion is on me. Somebody's up there, has just think and they want to just put me through hell, but maybe we can work this out. I wish somebody just land on my front yard and we can talk about it.
Okay, we will.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's all I want to do. All I want to do is talk about it. But anyway, let's get away from the aliens and get to you. How are you doing, Sheena?
I'm good.
You're doing okay.
I'm good.
Okay.
I'm doing great, man.
Surf Paranormal from Huntington Beach, California. Man, tell me a little bit about what you do. Why are you so busy?
I'm Irish. If we stop working, somebody fires us. I don't know. It's a thing. I got that work ethic. I grew up in this town. I grew up on the East Coast, New Haven, Connecticut. And then right before we moved here, when I was 13, my dad got transferred to Baltimore. And we lived in a kind of an Amityville Conjuring level house there. So then we moved here. So then to get out of the frying pan and into the fire, we moved to Huntington Beach. My dad got transferred when I was 13. And we live on an Indian burial ground, like for real. So there was always activity. Most of Huntington Beach is on an Indian burial ground. And the part that isn't, the high part, is a little bit of high part. I live below sea level in what is part of what they call the Bolsa Chica Wildlife Preserve, which is a marshland that was a burial ground. The high ground is all shamanic ground. So this whole town is so mystic. But when I was growing up here, it was extremely evangelical. So no one ever talked about that stuff. And my mom was also a psychic medium, very much in the closet at that time. So we had all the stuff. We had the dragons and the fairies. I mean, we're Irish people. We had it all. and we kind of had to hide it from Huntington. Well, come to figure out, I learned the older I got, I moved to Los Angeles, but still came here all the time because my mom was here, that guess what? Everybody was having the same paranormal experiences in Huntington Beach that we were. It wasn't just us.
Oh, wow.
And nobody was talking about it because of the, you know, the overhang of the extreme religion. So
wow.
Now it's different. The world is different. It's more accepted. People are talking about it. So one of my dreams, I now have, I've been in radio and television for my whole life, but in radio for 30 years in LA. And then I started working after my mom died. I decided to come out with my own spiritual gifts and started working in the spiritual world, opened my spiritual practice and working as a psychic medium and an energetic healer. And then I just had always wanted to start a paranormal society happening here to find out everybody's stories about what it was like to grow up here, which I now have learned the paranormal community calls Hutington Beach. And so I finally just kind of pulled the trigger and started Surf City Paranormal. I work with a couple of really well-known YouTube influencers named Mackie and Amanda. And I met them when they were exploring the most haunted house in Huntington Beach. And now that's kind of our hang. We've done almost all of our videos from there. The one that wasn't from there was from my extremely haunted high school. And so now I'm kind of part of one of my missions is to find out what goes on here paranormally and how to help other people that grew up in a place where you weren't supposed to talk about it, to let them know that it's okay they had paranormal experiences, you know?
Right. Okay. I got to start off with a quick question. How is it a whole community can keep them quiet?
Keeps quiet?
I don't understand.
Well, you know, when
I
was growing
up,
up,
community do that.
When I was growing up here in the 80s, this area of Southern California bragged that it was the Southern California Bible Belt. So it was a lot of evangelical Christianity where things like psychics and ghosts and demons and interdimensionals and UFOs and I mean all that stuff is the devil, right? So nobody talks about it because it doesn't exist. As a matter of fact, I remember when I was in college and I was still living at home, my dad, it was his turn to have the Super Bowl party for everybody at work, and the boss's wife kind of had to come over and approve the house. So she comes over to the house and there's like fairies and dragons and, you know, all kinds of stuff. And my mom had a cauldron. Well, she freaked out and basically told my mom, if we're going to have the party here, you need to put all this away. And my mom did. She used to always say when she retold the story once and never, she told my father, never again, don't ever ask anybody to make me put my stuff away because this is my spirituality. My mom was also a Christian and very proudly so. I mean, she had, you know, at Christmas, a nativity scene that had like 50 pieces, but right next to it, you know, was Merlin. So she mixed both of those things, but nobody talked about it because you didn't want people to think you were the devil. And we didn't talk about it at all, but we had come from living in rural Maryland, where we lived in this very dark, negative haunted house. And we didn't talk about it there either. And my mom had seen an off-worlder, an alien, and had encounters with UFO stuff. As a child, she had a hat man that followed her. So I just kind of grew up that all that stuff was real, but that you didn't tell anybody else. And so I kind of put a group of survivors together that had all been through it. I like to call myself a paranormal survivor. Folks that found their own way to their spirituality growing up in this wacky town. And started Surf City Paranormal as a way to, you know, provide helping and healing because some people live in haunted houses and they're scared. I mean, it's not fun, you know?
Right. You're absolutely right about that. Guys, tonight we have Sheena. Sheena is Surf Paranormal out of Huntington Beach, California. For all of you guys that are abroad, welcome to the show. If you are tuning in from Tokyo, Japan, welcome
Hi.
Welcome to the show. Coming in from the UK. Welcome to the show. Appreciate all you guys that are coming onto the show. I really, if you're a Twitch subscriber, welcome to the show. If you're watching me on YouTube or on Facebook, welcome to the show. You know, there are so many welcome to the shows out there, but you know,
I love
but
it.
hey, I just had to get
You
that
never
out
have too
quick,
many.
guys. You know what I'm saying?
There can never be too many.
No, you
welcome
never
to the
have
show.
too many. All right, hey, exactly. Okay, how many married? Is it just you? As a your team, or is there abundance of you guys, or is it just
I'm
you?
trying to
Talk
think
to
how
me.
many we have now. I have 2 lead investigators. I have a skeptic, which is interesting because you need one to kind of keep you in check. I have a
Yeah.
historian. I'm on the board of directors for the Huntington Beach Historical Society, which my best friend and her son inherited from her mother, who founded it. So they are the
Oh wow.
custodians for the big haunted house in town, and they help me out. So I have another historian in him. My best friend's son is a living historian. I have 2 more investigators. I mean, I think we're probably around 10 now, but I just started it in the summer. I mean, it's really brand new. And more things will be happening there in the next couple in the new year, where I'll be doing events from there, doing seances from there, doing investigations from there. And it's 100 and house was built in 1898. So it has its history. And they do historical tours there on a regular basis. So this will just be adding the para-historical tours to that. And I love that house as a home base. If you go to Surf City Paranormal on Facebook and look at our page, that's the house. It's my profile picture. But I'm really interested in what I really want to do with it next year is to start, going to homes, regular homes of people that live in haunted houses and don't know what to do. When I first moved back here last summer and moved into the house I grew up in, I put a post on the Nextdoor app and basically said, "Hey, I'm new here. I grew up here, but I haven't lived here in 30 years, and I'm a psychic and a paranormal investigator, and I knew I grew up in a haunted house. How about you? Let's hear your stories." And I'm going to tell you, Terry, some of the stories that people sent me were so scary. There were some I didn't finish because, I'm living like a block away. Oh, I used
Oh
to live in
wow.
this neighborhood. I'm like, oh my God, it's like a block away from me. So, and as a matter of fact, I remember once I was working about 20 minutes north of LA at a place called the Newmont Center that I like to work. It's a spiritual center in Agora, California. And somehow we all got on the subject of Huntington Beach. I was doing a psychic panel with 4 other psychics, including the owner of the co-owner of the center. And this woman said to me, "Oh, I went to Huntington Beach once to try to clean a house, and it was so terrible. I couldn't clear it. It was awful." So she starts describing where the house is, and I'm like, "Oh, that sounds close to me." And she's describing more and more. So she pulls out the address that she still has in her phone, and she sends me a Google Maps with the pin stuck in it. And it was literally like across the street from mine. And I'm like, uh-oh. So, it's just, we're surrounded by water here on 2 sides. So if you go to the west of me, you hit the beach. If you go to the south of me, you hit the beach. And then also wrapping around between the beach and me is that haunted burial ground marshland. And we're below sea level. And so it's got so many markers for a huge haunting, right? This place is just haunted. And there are a lot of things in this house that I don't do because I don't want the activity to kick up inside of my house. Like, I want to come to your haunted house, but I don't want my house to be haunted if I can help it.
Well, you know what? If I ever come to Huntington Beach to investigate, I'll be headed to your house.
Exactly. But we don't investigate here, but you can come and just look around. You're welcome to come. People say like, oh, do you do ghost box in your house? Do you do spirit board? And I'm like, no, because, you know, I got to tell you, so I lived in that house in Baltimore. We moved there when I was 9 and we left when I was 13. And I'm still traumatized from that house. I sleep with lights on. This house probably has 2 to 10 salt lamps in every room, selenite wands in every room, selenite towers in every room, brooms for protection. I ward the place with lavender and cinnamon and sage and Palo Santo. I don't want to live in a place that is always disrupted by spirit activity. I'm happy to come and help other people, to go to public places, to investigate, to lend what I can as an investigator and a survivor and a psychic medium. But I don't want to live in a celestial poop show in my own home because it's just too much, you know?
I understand that. You deal with it out there, but to come home and that's your plan to come, relax, chill for the moment, and not have to look over your shoulder every 2 minutes.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? That's something that you don't want to have to do in your home.
I do not want that. No.
Yep.
And that's only happened here once since
And
I moved back in.
I mean, but oh wow. So you and the spirits in your house actually had that talk and understand each other, you know, what not to do, what ye allowed to do, and all that stuff. You kind of had to, you know, let them understand where their place is.
Absolutely. And I feel them around the periphery. Like at night when I come home from being out, I can feel it. Like I walk briskly into the garage. I'm not going to lie to you. But I inside of this place, I keep it very warded and protected and safe. So that kind of thing doesn't happen. And the only time it has happened, I moved back here June 4th of last year. The only time it did happen was when I was with the YouTube, Mackie and Amanda, the YouTube influencers, and we were at my very haunted high school. I was in the theater department in high school, and it's our theater that's extremely haunted. The high school itself is, well, I graduated in 1985, and that was the 75th anniversary of the high school. So that's how old the high school is. It's one of the first things that was in Huntington Beach. And so we went back there, and it was very, very haunted investigation. And I think because it was familiar and I was nostalgic and I was back in high school, I protected myself on the way in, but I don't think I protected myself enough on the way out. So I came home, I felt really weird. I was very paranoid, which isn't like me. I kept thinking Mackie and Amanda didn't like me anymore, which is so weird. Like it's not the kind of thing I think. And then I got home and I woke up at 3:00 in the morning, and there was a very tall, dark, hooded figure that I had seen in the auditorium at the high school standing over me. And it reached out. I keep charms on my neck for protection. It reached out and it grabbed my Irish triquetra charm and it ripped it off. And I woke up and I thought, oh my God, that was the scariest dream ever. I got out of bed. I got up to go to the bathroom and something poked me in the foot. And I looked down and the charm was on the floor next to the bed. And when I took it to the jewelry store to get repaired, the guy said, what did you do to this? It looks like someone just grabbed it and ripped it off your necklace. So there you go. So that's when I remembered that, you know, I have to, when you're in Huntington Beach, you have to protect yourself even more than you think you should, because that's just how haunted it is here.
Exactly. Wow. Now, do you think most of the hauntings that you have in that city contributes to Native American?
I think a lot of it's
or
Native
is
American.
it because okay? Are there any? Because I know in California there are a lot of mines. There's a lot of things that was really abusive to people. Are you surrounded any around of those gold mines or any type things like that?
No, because I'm at the ocean, but I'll tell you, I have a theory that I've always sort of had in my own therapy and trying to figure out what happened in that Baltimore house. I think that we talk about Native American ground, right, Terry, as being tainted. And I think what that means is that the natives obviously put protection spells on their land so that nobody else, whether it was the settlers or another tribe, could come and defile that land, right? It was a way of claiming that area where their dead was for them. And natives were not really big into owning land, but certainly into protecting where their dead was. Now, my theory is that because of the kind of spells they did and chants and protections around the dead, it attracted earth spirits, elemental spirits, to come and guard that area. So I think when you're talking about native energy, are you talking about deceased Native Americans? Sometimes you're talking about actual spirits of folks that were alive on the earth. But I think where the trouble comes from, like a native burial ground area, is the elemental spirits that have come to take part in whatever spiritually charged energy the natives put into their ground when they buried their sacred dead. And I don't think that's just a Native American thing. I think we also find that in a lot of different kinds of cemeteries throughout the world, where for especially tribal communities, right? And that doesn't necessarily mean native folks. It can mean anybody where the community is really the thing, where there's a big community feeling. They protect the area where their dead is, and then these elemental spirits kind of become a part of it and are like, oh, it's a spiritually charged place, let me come. And then a lot of the really scary, aggressive poltergeisty kind of stuff that happens is actually from those elementals. Does that make sense?
Oh yeah. Well, let me ask you a question here, because I thought about this, and I've asked paranormal investigators, psychics, people that have been in the field a lot longer than me, and we've talked about Native Americans. Back when Native Americans, ran the planet, the people were so basic. They lived a simple life, So how did they come so educated in, being that, that are really, we can't even talk about?
Right.
How did they get so educated in that? And spiritual protection, things like that, man, because we are having a hard time figuring this out ourselves. But these are basic people that seem to have figured it out without a problem.
Well, my belief is that it's sort of like with kids, right? Kids come to this earth with 100% consciousness. And from the time they're 0 to 4 or 5 years old, they see spirits. They sometimes feel their past lives. They understand about telepathy. Babies communicate with you telepathically until they can speak. And then the longer they're on the earth, the more they get culturalized away from that and socialized away from that. And then they no longer believe in those things. And then they become, quote unquote, regular people, except for the ones whose gifts are so strong that they can't deny it. I think it's the same thing when you look at the Native Americans, and I think we focus on them because they were here when we got here. But the only difference in the Native Americans and everybody else on this continent is that they were the last holdout to still live as tribal communities. We all used to be like that before we started forming townships and the feudal system, and then, modern cities. We all were tribal. I mean, certainly my Irish ancestors were extremely tribal, and we all lived like the natives, right? You lived in tents, you lived in huts, you lived in caves. When you are that connected to the everything, it's much easier to have that spiritual consciousness. And it's just when you spend too much time in modern society that it gets taken away from you. You give up your spirituality, which you shouldn't, in favor of modern things that city life brings, that kind of organized community brings. And you shouldn't. You should keep your spirituality. You should keep your ability to heal with herbs. I mean, all of that you should keep. But for whatever reason, you don't. And so that's why I think that I think now if you went to an area that's highly populated by Native folks and you ask them about their tribal spirituality, probably a lot of them don't know as much as they would have 100 years ago, in the same way it would have been my Irish relatives, right, and ancestors, in the same way it is with folks that came over from Africa and brought a lot of their customs with them. And then, now how many of them actually know how to heal that way? Or folks that came from the Caribbean, or folks that came from the Orient. You know what I mean? We all had it.
Right.
We just lost it as we've become, quote unquote, evolved, which I don't necessarily think is all that evolved.
Right. Now, I do know that Native Americans are one and one with Mother Nature.
Absolutely. Yeah.
They preach and talk about Mother Nature as like they've seen her, they understand her, they commune with her, they communicate with her, so the question is, Sheena, do you think Mother Nature is a physical form in Native American eyes, or is it just like us, where the wind blows or a cloud goes by, we all think that's Mother Nature?
I think that Mother Nature is an energy, and I think that anybody on the earth should realize that's true. I mean, all of us here on the earth, right, Terry, we have an earthbound self and a spiritual self. And one of the biggest things that we have to challenge in every life is to try to get those two parts of us sort of walking alongside of each other. So everything on the earth, right? Like right here, this is my throat and this is how I breathe, but this is also my throat chakra. So it also in my spiritual self expresses my voice. Am I being heard? Am I feeling like I have a voice? So certainly there are things that are literally just biological, 100% just biological things that happen on the earth. But then there is also the energy of the earth, the Mother Earth energy, and those two things work at the same time. So I think that's what they believe, and it's certainly what I believe, and I think it's probably in a lot of ways what most people believe, except for those that are atheists or agnostics that don't believe. I think Mother Nature would for Christians fall under the Holy Spirit. You know what I mean? It's sort of like I'm a Christian pastor as well as everything else I am. And my senior pastor at my church grew up very fundamentalist. And so he and I talk all the time about what I call spirit, which is how I refer to God. Is I like the term spirit, and how he grew up with the Holy Spirit and how similar those two things are. And I've learned a lot from him in that respect, because I didn't really grow up going to church. So I learned a lot from him about that.
Right. Cool. Interesting. Very, very, very interesting. Let's change the subject for a minute. Yeah. You are a medium, and I've asked just about every medium that came on my show. You guys are just now coming out of the closet. You guys are making people know who you are, what you're capable of. The question is, why did it take so long?
I mean, I guess the short answer is The short answer is it's scary. Because of the fear of being judged, right? I mean, I grew up in the entertainment business my whole life, and I kind of thought if I came out and talked about who I really was, that I would get, rode out of the entertainment business on a rail. I guess that's the short answer. The long answer is, I guess, that no matter where your ancestors in this country came from, there is an ethic that this country was founded on that started with a bunch of very fundamentalist Puritans who came here for religious freedom and then gave religious freedom to no one. And that ethic really trickles down in this country. We see it in the way that we deal with sex, with nudity, how, films will get an R rating if there's a nipple in it, but a PG rating if 50 people get murdered. You know what I mean? There certain, and one of those things is people with gifts, psychics, right? Salem witch trials. Any woman in Salem that was practicing natural medicine was called a witch, and many were killed. So I think it's something that we fear, right? We fear what are people going to think? What are they going to say? Even now, moving back down here to this very conservative place from living in Los Angeles, and I just this place has changed. But still, even now, I'm so surprised when I'm like, wow, you're allowed to talk about being a medium down here? Like, it's fascinating. So I think that's why you worry people are going to think you're cuckoo and dismiss you. And I'm sure a lot of people do think you're cuckoo and dismiss you. I'm sure there are people who knew me as a radio and TV host and a creative and performing artist who see my posts now where I'm giving readings to people and think, who is this nut job? But, okay, it was time. It was something that when my mom passed, it was one of the first things that she asked of me. And I don't know how to describe it except that it was just time,
Right. Now, California. I talk about California on every podcast I'm on. I ask what people think about California and the way they present paranormal investigators, mediums, psychic. What do you think about how California portrayed us and what we do as a living what we do as a living anyway?
Do you mean like on TV and in movies and stuff?
Yes, on TV.
I'm surprised
Be honest.
At how accurate things really are. It's amazing to me sometimes when I'm watching a show and I think, man, they really got it. That's what it's like. I mean, that's true. I was a couple of years ago, I tell this story a lot. I was at a friend's house. They had just gotten this big 65-inch TV they were so proud of. And one of my friends, probably because he grew up very religious, he had never seen Poltergeist. So we watched the original Poltergeist from 1981. And I was amazed at how well the story held up. Poltergeist doesn't start getting crazy until she's in the pool and the spirits start popping out of the corpses. That's when it starts to get Hollywood. But that film, there's a lot of really good truth in that. And a lot of it, the investigators that come from the university, it really explains what investigators at that time period in the early 80s went through on these investigations. And so I think that some of the portrayal is actually wonderful. I love the show Evil. I think that Evil, I mean, a lot of it is, fun in TV, but there's a lot of stuff in Evil that is very good as far as how it describes to you the battle of darkness and light, what it's like from a psychologist perspective, from a priest perspective, from a technological perspective. I mean, that show covers a lot of stuff. It even covers like from a Satanist perspective, like, what are they doing? Because we don't think about them a lot.
Right. Not when that show first go, it's your flow. Go ahead.
Oh no, you finished. I'm sorry.
No.
Oh, I was going to say, if you're talking about reality, paranormal reality TV, sure. I mean, there are some that are extremely dramatic, and we all know who they are. But for the most part, it's spreading awareness. And I will never say anything bad about paranormal reality TV, because when those shows were first starting, and I was starting to try to really finally get a grip on what happened to me in that haunted house in Baltimore, I learned a lot from those shows. And so, people need them. People need the exposure, the awareness, and every show that comes out, we're one step closer to the country and the world accepting that the paranormal exists. So I think they're all great. Sometimes I get a little about the people that want to get possessed every week. I don't think people understand that a true possession is extremely rare, and you don't even want to get possessed once. You certainly don't want to get possessed every week. But I think now we all know that that's a lot of showmanship, and we're not really worried about it,
I'm glad you said that.
Right?
Oh my God, because the thing is, people have to understand is when we talk about possession, being, oh man, there's a demon here. Dude, the odds on that you actually going through that is so slim. The
Sure.
numbers are outrageous.
Sure.
That you would even see a demon or be possessed by one. But I'm not saying that it's not. It's anything's possible.
Yes.
But like you're saying, for those guys, every location they're possessed by a leprechaun or a Peter Jackrabbit. They always seem to be possessed by something.
Yes.
And I envy these kids today, these future paranormal investigators that want to go out into the field and want to start investigating. And guess who they are mentoring? They're looking after these guys here that are saying this, doing this. And it's not just, to me personally, I think it makes people like me, you, and all the other 50 million paranormal investigators out there, it kind of make us look bad because we're out here trying to do the right thing. We're trying to present factual evidence, and so what, man? If I stay in a mausoleum for 10 days and if I don't get not one evidence, that's fine with me. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But
you're not going to go home sad if you don't get possessed.
Oh man, I'm not. I'll probably go home and drink a beer afterwards. I'm not gonna be upset about it. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
And that's just me. Now, let's change the subject a little bit.
Sure.
Let's talk about paranormal and religion. Something you spoke on about 20 minutes ago.
Sure.
Now, why is it acceptable for different religions to accept what we do compared to some of the bigger religions that used to accept what we do, but now kind of put it on the back burner and say, okay, well, this did sort of maybe happened, but then again, they know what actually happened, but I don't care. It's really nothing big to us. Why do you think it's like that now?
Why religious people are so against the paranormal?
Well, certain religious groups are okay by it.
Right.
Methodists is okay by it. Baptist people, there aren't so much. Catholic people who, man, we'll talk about them in a minute. And Christianity, those three religions are very hard on paranormal investigators. But we also have to, if you think about this, let's think about this. Catholic Church been around since the beginning. Okay, they used to send people every time they hear something out in the world. Who would they send out to go investigate? A paranormal investigator. Sure. Am I right?
Right. Yeah. Or
that was. So why is that? Why are they so big skeptics now compared to 600 years ago?
Well, every religion has its mysticism. I mean, the Bible is full of mysticism. There's psychics, there's, Ezekiel's wheels. I'm sorry, that's a UFO. There's so much mysticism. Exactly. Christ performing miracles and doing healing. I mean, it's mysticism left and right. And it's funny when Christians talk about Christ, when I tap into the energy of Christ, to me, Christ was, kind of like a healer and a hippie who just wanted everyone to love each other. I never have understood where the whole judgmental Christ came from. There is literally no judgmental Christ anywhere. I think the bottom line, and this is maybe going to not sound nice, and I don't mean for it to, because I love religions. I love to go to different people's spiritual services. I enjoy going to churches with people. Even if it's not something that I'm practicing, I love to be there. I've never been Catholic, which is weird for an Irish girl. My family was from Northern Ireland. But I certainly love Catholic Mass, and I go with friends. I think that at its core, religions are businesses. And the goal of the business is for people to keep coming back. And if people start believing in all kinds of things, then they're not necessarily going to keep coming back. Like if you're a yoga instructor and your liveliness depends on people coming to do yoga, and then somebody comes to your class and says, you know what, yoga's stupid, we should all be doing Pilates, and everybody leaves the class, then you have a problem. And I think there is a fear throughout the history of religion that if people come and bring new ideas, that then everybody will leave, and churches survive by the tithes of their parishioners. So I just think there's a fear of anything that lives outside of what that church is selling, be it meditation, paranormal, psychic activity, practicing witchcraft, being homosexual, whatever it is. If it doesn't fit in their plan, it's like if you have a donut shop and somebody else is selling sandwiches and they're not coming to get the donuts. The normal thing you would think is start selling sandwiches, then they'll keep coming. But the churches don't. They get very like, look, if you don't have a donut, you're going to die and go to hell. And so I think that there's just this idea of nothing outside of the box. And we're learning now, because now the internet has come and everybody now has learned about everyone. Everyone knows everything about everything in the world, that you can't stop the progress now. So I think a lot of churches are learning, like the Episcopal Church and the Methodist Church, certainly the Unitarian Church and the Universalist churches, that if you want to keep people coming, you have to open up your perspective of what's okay. And I think that's beautiful. And I believe there will come a time when the Catholic Church will finally make that shift. It's just that they're a little behind the curve with it.
Well, not only are they a little behind the curve with it, man, they're like 300 years behind it.
Yeah.
I mean, you know what? The only thing I can see the Catholic Church helping the Catholic Church is if they're willing to open up that vault and let everybody see what's in it.
Right.
And I don't think they'll ever open. There are things in that vault that they don't want people to know, or they think that we might not be able to handle what's in that vault. But then again, you would never know how people would react if you don't vault. You know what I mean?
Right. Yes.
And to me, I think, I think the Catholic Church is holding back on some of the biggest mysteries that can,
Yeah,
that can
right.
open
Yes.
up
Yes.
eyes, man.
Yes.
And
Sure. Yeah.
I just think they need to do that.
I
I
think they
really
got
do.
everything in those vaults. I think they have a Bigfoot and a Loch Ness monster, an alien autopsy, and I think they Christ toenails. I think they have everything in that vault, and nobody will ever know about it. And you know what I mean? The fountain of youth, and you know what I mean? The voice of God. I think they have everything, and
They
somebody
got
has.
to, and you know what? And nobody in the public's eye is really pushing the issue on that.
Yeah.
Why?
Well,
I
because
I don't understand that.
I think people are scared to be different and to be speaking out against it. I also think that people are scared their own religion will kick them out, that their families will be upset with them. I mean, there's all those kinds of things, right? I mean,
But
I
aren't
have
you?
in my years of interviewing people, I've interviewed paranormal investigators that their families have disowned them when they found out they were doing it. You know, I mean, it's serious stuff. For some people, are very fearful of it. And I've had people even say to me, like, I've had people that I was dating be worried that their families were going to judge me because of it. And so, I mean, it's definitely is a thing. And um, I don't blame people for staying quiet about it. But I think what's happening now, which we saw happen in the 70s, 80s, and 90s with the queer community, right, is that churches that are not accepting of our spiritual choices, we're just finding churches that are. So people are leaving some of these more fundamentalist churches
Right.
and flocking towards these more forgiving churches because they still want to worship, but they want to be somewhere that accepts them for who they are. And everybody has the right to be
Right.
accepted for who they are. That's just that's an unalienable right, right? That we were supposedly all given in the Constitution. And now take a minute and let you snicker. But it's, you know, we're all supposed to be able to just be who we are. And that's really what spirit, what God energy wants for us. God is not judging, or, I mean, all the time that I tap in and receive messages from spirit, I have never had spirit tell me, oh, somebody was too fat, or they're not smart enough, or they're not rich enough. Like, spirit doesn't care about any of that. That's 100% earthbound
No,
garbage. It has nothing to do with God or spirituality.
I totally agree with you. It's my next subject, by the way. Let's talk about heaven, hell, and earth. The earth.
Okay.
I've heard so many different things, man. Baptists, Catholics, if you do something bad, you're going to hell. If you murder
Okay.
someone, you're going to hell. If you
All
do
right.
this, man, if you take that sneaker bar off the table, you're going to hell. I've heard my
Okay.
grandparents tell me that, by the way. What do you think that's out there for us? What do you think that's out there for us after we leave our physical form?
Kind of the most beautiful thing ever. I mean, I don't believe in a judgmental God, like an Old Testament God that's always mad and turning people into salt. But I do know that it is a universe of justice. And if there are things that you do that are not okay, you are definitely going to have a talk with spirit um, when you get home. Uh, Home is a very active place. Everybody has things to do and has a job they do there. And it's a community, just like it's a community here. It's not everyone just sits on a cloud and does nothing. I mean, it's running the universe is serious business. Think of it like Santa's workshop, right? But the elves were, some of them were humans and some are angels. I don't know about hell because I don't have anything to do with that side, but I do know
Mhm.
that darkness exists, and I do believe that some souls come from that darkness. Some souls choose to go to that darkness. I don't believe that hell is a place where good people are getting punished for, having sex before they're married, or, whatever weird thing, marrying someone outside of their religion. I do think that there is real evil, and that real darkness and real evil does exist. One of the things that I have such a hard time with when Christians get fundamental is all the things that they're focusing on, like adultery and sex out of wedlock and gay people. And these are all things, whether or not you're respecting your parents, no matter how abusive they were to you, these are things that are not important. I mean, and in the meantime, while we're focusing on all of that, there are people out there doing real heinous things against other people. And it's like it's almost sliding by because we're nitpicking the small stuff, you know. So but like I said, I have talked to people that have passed that have either not been good to others while they were here, not learned their lessons in this lifetime, not overcome their obstacles, or have decided to opt out early and take their own life. And there's not a judgment, there's not a punishment, but there definitely is sort of a retraining program, because Spirit doesn't want you to come back and do that again. Spirit wants you to get it right, learn your lessons, become more enlightened, and then come back the next time with more knowledge. Spirit doesn't want you to keep being unhappy every time, you know. So there is kind of a period. That's why sometimes you'll find somebody who, you know, had a good life, loved everybody, died at 97 years old. 10 minutes after they die, like my mom, 45 minutes after she passed, she was communicating with me. I'll find sometimes that my clients' loved ones that passed at their own hand, or, you know, hurt someone or were abusive to them, sometimes it takes a while to get in touch with them, because they're sort of in this retraining program of Spirit saying, hey, look, you can't do that again. Because there is a balance to the universe. And if you are abusing another or abusing yourself, you're disrupting the balance of the universe. But that doesn't mean, you know.
Now,
I'm sorry.
Right. What do you think about all these earthbound spirits who refuses to cross over for some odd reason?
You know what, Terry? I don't know that I believe they refuse to cross over. I just think they visit. I think they come and go as they please, and some prefer to be here more. When my mom first died, about the first 3 months after she died, and she and I were soulmates, she was with me almost all the time, and then less and less. And she checks in, but she's got her own stuff she's doing. She doesn't have all her time to sit on my shoulder and hang out with me. I think the ones that come back a lot forever, hundreds of years after their passing, it's usually because there's some kind of trauma they haven't worked through, or for some reason they haven't put that life to rest and moved forward. You know?
So they are among us.
Of course, sure. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Hey, you know, I thought I saw a spirit eating a McDonald's one day. And, you know, I just went to go up and say, hey, what's up, brother? How you doing? You know?
Yeah. He's like, man, there's no McDonald's where I am. Yeah. I mean, when I die, I'll come back here and eat McDonald's too. I mean, there's no McDonald's there.
Yeah, that is so amazing, man. And to be honest with you, I do believe that there are earthbound spirits that are just going about their lives, man, just chilling, hanging out, whatever they want to do.
Just visiting.
And and I tell people all the time, and I tell them all the time, just because you don't see something doesn't mean it's not there.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And
absolutely.
What really gets me is we're gonna change another subject.
Okay.
What kind of equipment, when you're investigating, what kind of equipment do you work with?
You know, I don't so much anymore, because I mostly work as a psychic medium now. But back in the day, before I was out of the psychic closet, I kind of like EVPs. I worked a lot with a tape recorder. That was my thing. Although when I work with Mackie and Amanda, they use the REM pod a lot, and I really like the REM pod. I like the way it It picks up. I like that they can, say 15 minutes, you'll get a response, and you literally wait 15 minutes and then it starts talking. I mean, I think in the house that we investigate all the time, we've had a lot of luck with the REM pod. So I'm very fond of that. And yeah, that's one of my favorites now.
Now, have you ever used a Ouija board by chance?
I have under controlled circumstances.
Okay.
I'm not like wandering around all the time with my planchette. I'm just not, because you can just bring too much in, right?
Right. Now, would you consider a Ouija board and a REM pod the same?
I mean, they're all ways that you're bringing spirits through, but I think it's different. I think a Ouija board is more like, you using a camera to take pictures of people and you're picking up what's in the atmosphere. A Ouija board, you're making direct contact and asking for participation. So I think it's a difference in taking someone's picture in a crowd and walking up and asking them for a blood sample, I think there's more direct, intense, intimate communication with the spirit board. And that's why they can be trouble. Right. And if you don't know what you're doing, you shouldn't be using one. One of the things that makes me angry, it takes a lot to make me angry, is that Mattel makes a pink Ouija board for little girls to take to slumber parties, like little girls in puberty to take to slumber parties. I mean, why don't you just bring on the demonic apocalypse? I always say that the spirit board is like, a Ouija board is like walking into a bar naked at 2 a.m. and saying, "Who wants to have sex with me?" Like, you're going to get takers, but is it really who you want? And you know what I mean? Is that really who you want? And I think that's the thing. You have to be so careful about when you just say, "Is there anybody out there that wants to talk to me?" Wow, you're just kind of, you know what I mean? Why don't you just ride up and down the street and ask people to get in your car? I mean, it's you don't know what you're going to get, right?
You never know. Because I've had this conversation with a individual that was on my podcast, and we had a good discussion about Ouija boards, REM pods, and some things that can open certain things. The debate was, well, what I was saying is, if you have a REM pod and you have a Ouija board, and you're asking this Ouija board to move here, to move there, but let's say you have that REM pod and it goes off, and you have a spirit there, and you ask them to touch this cat ball, isn't that sort of two of the same?
Yeah, I think a lot of paranormal equipment is duplicating the same message over and over again. I think you're just hoping that whatever spirit you're trying to communicate with, Terry, is going to resonate with whichever kind of technical tool you have there, right?
Right. Okay, well, let's change the subject again. Now, I'm going to ask you a question, Sheena, and you probably going to like, what the hell is this guy talking about? What century are we living in?
As far as I know, the 21st, my friend.
Okay, we're in the 21st century, right? And I've asked a lot of people this question. Why are we still using 19th century and 20th ways of communicating with the other side? Why come we not have been able to evolve like the book? Like, whoever's writing this paranormal book, that page is steady turning. Somebody's steady writing it and steady flipping that page and steady. Why is that we are not able to keep up with whoever's writing that book?
I mean, I think we're trying, but I think the more accepted it becomes, the more we'll be able to get more technological geniuses on board. I mean, look, a radio a ghost box, which used to be called a shack hack, right? Because it was basically an old Radio Shack radio with one of the wires cut. I think it's very DIY, the paranormal community. And you're either using things like an EMF that some other professional uses in their work, or a tape recorder, same thing, a night vision camera not built for the paranormal. We just kind of borrow everybody's stuff and MacGyver it and make the best of it. And so I think we're just figuring it out. We have a lot of ways to go in that regard, but new things are coming out all the time. And I'm just happy whenever I see something that's new, my friend. And that,
yeah,
I hate to run out on you, but I have to run. I've got another podcast I've got to do. So, but I've had so much fun with you. You're so awesome.
Hey, no problem. You know what? I'm glad I got you on the show. I really appreciate you coming on.
My pleasure.
Hey, I would love to do this again. Maybe with a little bit more time.
Yeah.
There is so much to talk about. And there's so much me and you can debate on. Let's do this again. Let's set something up for the new year.
Sounds good.
Hopefully a little bit more, and we can do this. But hey, before you leave, tell the world how to get a hold of you.
Yes, SheenaMetalSpiritual.com is my website, and my social media everywhere is just Sheena Metal. No spaces or letters or extra numbers, just my name. And then I always give out my cell number because I'm very accessible and you can talk to me whenever you want. 818-437-0886 is a great way to get a hold of me. And I look forward to hearing from folks. And it's been an honor to spend an hour with you, my friend.
Yes, ma'am. It's been an honor of mine also. All right, guys. Hey, this was another great podcast for NSPS TV Paranormal Podcast. Unfortunately, my friend has to go. She probably has a date, but I understand.
A date with another ghost hunter. A date with another ghost hunter, Terry.
There you go. But in the meantime, hey, you guys want to get a hold of her? Hey, she just put her info out, so feel free to get a hold of her, or if you guys want to investigate, feel free. And hopefully she will get back to you. But in the meantime, I'm about to get out of here also because my son needs to cook me dinner. But
nice.
I really come on the show once again. But in the meantime, hey guys, enjoy the rest of your show. I don't know what the hell that is, but that's a guy. But anyway, Sheena's gone. I am. Hey, my next show tomorrow, I will be visiting Two Brothers Paranormal. They're coming on the show. Two Brothers Extreme Paranormal for that. But in the meantime, let's roll out of here, guys. Enjoy the rest of your evening. All right, guys. Hey, man, I really appreciate her coming.
Gentlemen,
I really
may I have.
Anyway, I'm about to get out of here and cook dinner, guys. You guys enjoy the evening. Peace.